Hello and welcome back, Whisky fans. It's now 2 weeks since St George's Day was celebrated, so it's safe that you can watch my channel again and not see another English whisky review, right? Oh, how wrong you can be. This is Bimber Apogee, so third English whisky review in a row. Or is it? So this Bimber Apogee pure malt whisky with the big XII 12 in the middle of the label, aged 12 years old, it's been around for a little while, and I'm sure that all of you have heard of Bimber. I'm sure that probably most of you want to try Bimber, and I'm sure a lot of you have been disappointed because it's incredibly hard to get hold of, and for as incredibly good as it is, it does tend to be a little bit pricey as well. So this new release, which is very reasonably priced from Bimber, it's kind of a welcome sight. Just going to show you a close-up of the box here. So anyone that hasn't heard of this, a little bit of a quiz. What do you think this whisky is? There's a little bit of a clue at the bottom on the label there saying that it's matured in ex-Bimber oak casks. Not really any details on the rest of the box there. Let's get the bottle out. It's one of those bottles that has the little deck on the inside, which annoys the hell out of me, but that's by the by. Show you the label there. Not really much more information on there than there is on the box. Show you the back label. And it even says there in the middle of the back label, produced and bottled by Bimber Distillery, Sunbeam Road, London. So you would be forgiven for thinking that this, somehow, Bimber have managed to make a 12-year-old Bimber English whisky, and they've started to bottle it for a hell of a lot less money than all of their previous releases. So seems like an absolute bargain. But there's another little clue to what's going on here, that Bimber Apogee, at the top of the label, it says pure malt whisky. So pure malt whisky is something that we tend not to see on labels of whisky anymore. It's a very old-fashioned term that's actually illegal now for anything produced in Scotland. But the term pure malt, a lot of you will know, was a very ambiguous term. It was used over the years by distilleries in Scotland either to refer to what we now call a blended malt, which in the past was also known as a vatted malt. So that's a blend of more than one single malt from different distilleries. But at times, some Scottish distilleries did also use the term pure malt to refer to single malt, as in it's just a single malt, pure malt, which, along with the very underhanded, confusing situation that was brought about by Diageo using their Cardew label. For a time, Cardew under Diageo, they were bottling a blended malt, but using the Cardew name, the Cardew bottle, the Cardew label, and they just changed the word single malt to pure malt on the label. And for a while they were getting away with selling blended malt under the label of one of their distilleries, making customers think that it was the single malt that they had been buying. So that's why in Scotland the term pure malt is no longer allowed. So obviously Bimber are going to get a thorough spanking for using the pure malt label, aren't they? Well, no, because Bimber is English whisky and we're not governed by the SWA down here, so they can do whatever they want. But the fact that they've put pure malt on the label is a clue to what's in the bottle here, because this is actually a sourced product. It's being sourced and having an additional cask maturation applied to it by Bimber in London, but it's actually a blend of 12-year-old Highland and Speyside single malt. Other details that we have from the label, it's bottled at a very suspiciously Distellian 46.3% ABV. On the back label we know that it's natural colour and non-chill filtered, and we know that it's 12 years old, and that's probably about it. But despite being an affordably priced sourced product, it's got an age statement, over 46% ABV, natural colour, non-chill filtered. It's a full craft presentation. And while we're talking about presentation, I really like these squat, round, sort of crinkled patina effect glass bottles. I think that they're very traditional, nice and dumpy and compact, doesn't take up too much space. You're not really in danger of knocking it over. I think it's a really nice bottle. What I don't like so much is the cork in this one. It's one of those horrible composite corks. You can probably see there that, or maybe not if my camera doesn't focus, but that cork is made of lots of tiny little pieces of cork that are all stuck together, and this cork is crap in my opinion. There's quite a sharp edge on that, sharp corner on that bottle there, and every time you push that in and take it out, it shaves a bunch of cork off there. And as I'm getting to the bottom of this bottle, there's quite a bit of cork debris forming in the bottom there. And I'm a little bit living in fear that that cork's going to snap off, because it's not a very good one. Saying that, it's done the job so far, and I am nearing the end of this bottle, so I don't care too much. So let's get some in the glass and see what it's all about. See if the liquid is any good. So, in case it wasn't abundantly clear, Bimber Apogee XII. This is a sourced blended malt from Scotland, but blended in England. Even though it does say a little bit confusingly on the back, produced and bottled by Bimber. Kind of. On the nose. Quite a light, sweet, fruity, playful, slightly sharp nose. Getting lots of appley notes, sweet tropical fruit, a little bit of pineapple, and a little bit of really pleasant contrasting toasted oak. I think that there's a slight yeasty breadiness on the nose to this one, slightly similar to what you get from Deanston Distillery perhaps. A little bit of waxiness on the nose, which is something that I always like. It's a little bit of character. There's a very strong, sweet maltiness to this whiskey, which I always really like. I like when you can smell and taste the raw ingredients, especially the barley in a whiskey. All in all, I'd say that the nose of this one is very, very mature. Let's see how it tastes. So, on the palate, very sweet again. Lots of lovely honey and apple, caramel, fudge, really sweet, fruity malt. It reminds me a little bit of things like Amrit from India and some of the lighter, more fruity, playful Japanese single malts. And I think it's really the really pleasantly honeyed, sweet and slightly sharp fruitiness in the malt of this whiskey. But as per the nose, it's all perfectly in balance. There's a very pleasant bitterness, I think, coming through from the casks on this one. And that tends to keep everything kind of in check, everything balanced, not going too far one way. I am quite surprised with this one at quite how much of that Bimber character has come through from that cask finish. Obviously cask finishes can have an enormous impact on whiskey, but this one in particular, I'm surprised at how much of that trademark sharp, sweet fruitiness from the Bimber casks is coming through, sort of taking over on that 12-year-old Scottish malt. It's really a testament to English whiskey that that Bimber cask finish stands up so well and is so noticeable over that Scotch. Makes you wonder if, when Bimber sourced the whiskey for this, they specifically sourced Scotch whiskey that was going to complement that Bimber cask. I'm sure that they probably did. Let's have one more sip and look at the finish. Lovely natural colour there. Perhaps slightly darker than what I'd expect for a 12-year-old Scotch whisky. Possibly because those Bimber casks are perhaps a little bit on the fresh side, so it's picked up a little bit more colour from that oak. You can probably also see a few tiny little fragments of cork floating around in there, which is not ideal. But getting back to the finish on this one, lots of sweet maltiness, some really nice perfumed oak, slightly salty edge. I'm going to say that the length is medium short, but with a really nice, pleasant, lingering fruitiness. So what do I think of this Bimber Apogee? It's not really a substitute for proper Bimber whiskey, because Bimber whiskey is amazing stuff, and it's amazing that it's English whiskey made and matured here in England, and this stuff sadly isn't that. But I think that this is a really good effort by Bimber, probably to raise a little bit of money to keep them going, and also to offer a really interesting and quality product to Bimber fans. When you consider that a lot of English whiskey distilleries and a lot of new distilleries around the world, when they're in that early stage and they're not making a lot of money, a lot of them take to selling cleric, new make, or gin or vodka, nasty stuff basically. It's a pale imitation to the kind of whiskey that we're all waiting for. Bimber have taken it a step further and offered a really nice little blended malt whiskey. So hats off to Bimber for that, especially that they've offered such a mature and well-made and malty blended malt. And as I said before, I really like that Bimber character is coming through in this. You can really tell that, although it's not a Bimber English whiskey, that it's got a little bit of that DNA in it. Any criticisms of this whiskey? Well, apart from the fact that some people might have bought this thinking that it's actual English whiskey when it's not, which is a little bit naughty. Hopefully not too many people have been stung in that sense. But only criticism really is it could be perhaps slightly more complex for the price tag. But as it is, I think it's an excellent alternative to other quality blended malts, and it probably beats things like Johnnie Walker Green Label at its own game. So thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think about how Bimber have presented and the information that they've given us on this one. And if you've tried it, tell me what you think. And would you buy it again? Thanks for watching, and cheers.